Hi there YouTube, Sad Womble here. Well, here is that video. As we know, statistically, one in 3, 1 in 4 women is going to get raped. So statistically, I was always going to have to do a video about rape, wasn't I? And here it is. Who knew? It was always going to happen. Throw the dice. It was always going to happen. So, yeah. There's this crazy statistic that says, 1 in 4 women or whatever, or 1 in 3 women is going to get raped in their lifetime. In fact, it's amazing they ever walk out of the house. Clearly, this is nonsense. But the problem we have, we being the society, is the definition of rape as invented by feminists. Now, I have a definition of rape, which is basically non-consensual penetration. Or non-consensual sex, because men can be raped too. And of course women can penetrate men because they tend to use objects. And I'm not going to go into further of that because I'm sure we can all work it out, and it's not nice, and I like to keep my videos at least reasonably clean, even about subjects like this. But as we know, feminists don't consider rape to be that kind of thing. Rape to a feminist is anything that's, consensual and then she changed her mind. That's rape. Non-consensual, that's rape. Drunken fumble when you weren't thinking straight, that's rape. And then it gets a little bit interesting because being really nasty to a woman, that counts as rape. Shouting obscenities to her, that counts as rape. And basically anything that doesn't involve telling a woman that basically, rainbows just emerge out of every orifice. And of course, by every orifice, that includes, that orifice. That counts as rape as well. So is it any wonder that basically, 1 in 4 women is classed as being raped in their lifetime or, this week? Because if you widen the classification of rape to be outside what I would believe is the medical definition of rape, and let's face it, it's not a nice subject. Actual, genuine, real, no-nonsense messing about rape is 100% wrong and is 100% just horrific and nasty. Doesn't matter who it happens to, it's just not right. But the medical definition of rape involves penetration. Women can penetrate a man with stuff. Men can penetrate a woman with stuff, or, the stuff God gave us. But that's the only way you can physically rape someone. You cannot rape somebody with words. There is a really, you'll never have heard this phrase. There's a really obscure phrase in the English language. And this you're gonna. I've said this before in some of my videos. I hope everyone's sitting down at this point. There is a phrase. I'm going to give it to you now. Are you ready? It's this. Prepares voice for proper oration. It's this. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I'm sure people have heard that before. And you know what? It's right. If you come towards me with a baseball bat and smash me over the head, that's gonna hurt. If you shout at me and tell me that I'm an idiot or a dork or a prat, I'm quite likely to be able to walk away from that. And it's the same thing with rape. If you're a bully to me or nasty to me, you know what? That's not rape. That's just you being a wanker. A male or female wanker, it doesn't make any difference. That's just you being a wanker. No physical assault has taken place. You cannot class rape as any kind of mental assault. I do not think mental anguish, which is basically what we're talking about. We're talking about hurt feelings here. Hurt feelings is not the same as somebody stuffing something inside you. That's not rape. That's somebody being a wanker or an arsehole. It's as simple as that. And yet, to listen to feminists, you can class rape as hurt feelings. That does count. She felt in danger for her own life. Now that counts as rape. Because as we know, that's basically all that we do. He raped me with his eyes. No, I think you'll find biology says men find women attractive. because God knows why else would we shack up with them. And, you know, he looked at her and went, ooh, that's not rape. That's a man looking at a girl and finding her attractive. You know, it becomes rape if he drags her down a dark alley and does stuff. That's rape. As long as she doesn't want it at the time and doesn't agree to it. Because don't get me started on women who change their minds. John the Other has done a video which is on, I think it's on his YouTube channel anyway, but it's also linked via A Voice for Men. And he has a statement which basically requires women to sign a statement basically saying words to the effect of, I'm here and I know exactly what I'm doing, before he'll have any dealings with them. I mean, that's genius. And rather worryingly, I had that idea a number of years ago. Didn't do anything about it in many ways that I'm sure everyone's had really good ideas in their life that they've never done. I did consider that very briefly. Didn't do anything about it. Fortunately, it didn't become required. And now I've become a red pill MGTOW. It's never going to be required because I'm done with that whole world. But is that really the situation we're now in? Are we really in a world where basically a woman has to sign to consent to be with you? Do you have to have a consent form waiting outside the bedroom? I promise that I actually wanted to have sex with this man. Are we really at that point now? And as I say, you can't take these things back. You know, little lesson about me. I was a bit of a late bloomer. I had my first kiss when I was much too old to be expected to have my first kiss. I was about 18 when I had my first kiss. Altogether, world's smallest violin. But there we go. And it was a bit of an experience. I enjoyed it at the time. No problem with that at all. It was a bit of a shock. The girl was drunk. That was fine, you know. What ruined it for me was that night I became a man because I'd been kissed by a girl, properly kissed, you know. I could work out what she'd had for tea and everything. Or to be more precise, how many pints she'd been drinking. But the really sad thing was the following day, because I was at work, the following day, she was a work colleague, the following day she came up and apologised and basically took the kiss back by telling me that she didn't mean it and she hoped I didn't mind. I mean, what an anticlimax. But you can't do that. These things, once they're done, they're done. And so the same thing is, if you consent to something, you've consented to it. You know, if you didn't mean it later on, well, that's nobody's fault. We as a species have to go on information provided. You know, it's like if I go to a shop and I pick up a DVD and I go to the shopkeeper and I say, how much is this DVD? And he goes, £10.50. And I hand him over the £10.50 and I walk out the shop. I do not expect the police to knock on my door and say, that DVD was worth £50. And I say, but I paid £10.50. He goes, yeah, but he didn't mean it when he said it was £10.50. It's actually 50 quid. You're going to prison. I mean, is that a ridiculous example? Yes, it is. But that's the point. You can't consent to something, have an event, and then take it away afterwards. You just can't. And I'm not being a rape apologist at this point for anyone who considers that I am. As I said at the top of this video, actual, genuine, full-on, real, non-consensual penetration is rape and is wrong. And I am totally and utterly against that, as any human being should be, any moral human being. And I think if you actually run the numbers, more than 99% of the population would class themselves as moral human beings. Yes, there are bastard men out there. And yes, there are bastard women out there. But you know what? They form such a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage out there that you do. I mean, when I was young, you know, we were told watch out for strangers and all this, you know, women were told to watch out for stuff. You took personal responsibility for yourself. You don't do stuff that's going to invite it, because there are weirdos out there and they are going to do bad stuff, but they're not everywhere. They're not everywhere. If you bring all men up to be told that they are all basically rapists, what they're going to do, apart from thinking to themselves that we're not, you know, because I'm certainly not. I would run a mile before doing anything like that. I don't believe in violence of any type. Not to men, not to women. But you literally put men off women. If you tell men that all women are basically fragile little creatures who are waiting to be murdered, raped, attacked, beaten up by men, and you tell them as well that they've got all these levers ready for use if you decide to do that, because you're about to, and you've got to hold yourself back, otherwise you might accidentally rape or murder or pillage someone. You know, you're going to make men scared of women. And you know what's going to happen then? It just pushes more men to take the red pill. More men to just take longer before they actually, you know, go for the relationship. Every man starts blue pill. Every man is born blue pill, in my humble opinion. And as we know, I'm really, really humble. I am probably the most ultimately humble person you will ever meet. I am the god of humility. Anyway, you know, every man is born blue pill and he gets turned red pill. Some men are turned red pill by circumstances, aka shitty girlfriends, you know, etc. Some men are turned blue pill, you know, because they don't have the chance with women. So I turned red pill because they don't have chances with women, because basically, you know, they never get to first base because they don't look good enough, or they haven't got a car, they haven't got a house, they don't have enough income. Or they get turned red pill just because they've heard too much information about this, and they've decided, you know what, I don't want anything to do with that. And the problem is, if they don't hook you, if the women don't get their claws into you at the red pill moment of sort of, you know, hormone central of sort of 16, 18, 21, depending on your country of jurisdiction, the longer you leave a man on his own, physically, the longer you leave a man on his own, he will discover, to his utter not amazement, that he can function quite happily without a woman. And after a bit, a man will automatically decide he likes his own space, he likes his own company, he likes doing things that he wants to do. And the older any of us get, male or female, we want our own space, we want to be self-determining, we want to do what we want to do. And if you don't learn the lesson of sharing when you're younger, you never will, which is great for the red pill community. I am an only child. So I never learnt to share. I never had any brothers or sisters to share with. Didn't really have a very big extended family, so I wasn't always dealing with cousins and various other people like that. Didn't have many friends. I had a few. I'm not painting myself as somebody who sat up in my room and just, you know, read books my whole life. I had friends, but it's not the same. It's not the same. You know, you can not go to see a friend, or you can have a huff and go away with a friend. There's nobody forcing you to go and see a friend. It's different. So if you get men and they don't learn the you've got to share with women thing, then, you know, you automatically turn red pill. If you leave a blue pill on the side for long enough, there's a chemical reaction happens inside and it automatically turns red. It's just how it is. And the more that feminists put this huge nonsense up to say, but all men are rapists, basically, and the only men that haven't raped yet. They're all going to, they all want to, that's all they think about. It's just gonna happen. So watch yourselves, men, because you're going to if you don't stop yourself. The more feminists do this, the more men they're going to turn off, which means the more women are going to be, you know, miserable and lonely and sad, and start to get more and more and more and more sexualized. And then the moment a man looks at them, you know, if you have a woman who's dressed, I'll say conservatively, in other words, you know, t-shirt, jeans, normal makeup, nothing particularly provocative. If you have a normal woman and she walks down the street, she'll get no attention at all. If you dress, and if you know, so if you told them that that's how you have to dress, if you suddenly basically have the whole male population aren't allowed to look at a woman, she'll have to ramp it up until all the men just, you know, so you end up with the Miley Cyrus situation, where basically you have to walk around just completely everything on display until a man physically can't help himself. Because, you know, we do have biological imperatives. You know, men are programmed, you know, to like breasts, to like long legs, etc., etc., etc. And that, just because you like that, does not make you a rapist, doesn't even make you a potential rapist. It makes you human. And that's as simple as it is. But feminists can't see this. All they see is, he looked at me, yeah, he wants to rape me. tell you, if you saw half the women I see in my life, you wouldn't want to rape them. You'd want to run away from them.